Kind of weird days. One of those days, but this is why we do yoga, right? We walk in like this, we walk out like this. So at least that's the goal. So welcome everybody. My name is Nicole. For those of you I don't know, slow flow this afternoon. Have a blanket. If those of you who are joining us from home, if you have a blanket or it's something that you can use as a blanket, which we're going to use as a rolled up a little bit to start with a restorative heart opener this morning. So again, those of you from home, grab some sort of a blanket. Those of you here in the studio, you can take your blanket as it was most likely folded on the shelf and just fold it into thirds from there. So simple task to start. Fold that blanket into sort of a longer roll here. I'm going to give you a couple of different options. So I just want to start out this afternoon with a little bit of a more restorative heart opener, give us a chance to just let some of these tissues open up a little bit, especially when a lot of our days are spent like this and we end up even inadvertently being a little bit rounded. Want to just give it a little bit of time to lay back and breathe, open the chest. So two different options. You're going to take that rolled blanket behind you, and this is going to be the more gentle option. So if you have anything going on with your low back, if you just don't want as much intensity, you're going to take that rolled blanket and just park it right up against your sacrum. So you want it nice and close to you. And you're going to let it support the entire length of your spine. So when you lay back, you're able to just sort of drop the arms open, get a little lift to the chest, but it's not anything super excessive. Now, if you did want a little bit more, you can flip it and you can take it to intersect your spine. The big thing here, I see people do it all the time, you do not want it under your low back. You do not want it way back under your shoulders. You want it right behind your chest. Ideally, you're able to take the arms over the blanket and onto the floor, not on the blanket. This closes. We want to open and stretch it out. And if you're not sure which of those shapes is appealing to you, try them both. We got time. We're going to be here for a little bit of time. So it's really important to give yourself ample time to get situated in the shape, to really set your body up in the most comfortable way so that you can just drop in and melt after that. If you are not comfortable right now, in 3 minutes, it's going to be tough to get up, but not in a good way. We want to make sure that you're able to get comfortable. And again, arms, if you're taking the shape that intersects your spine, just make sure that they're out onto the floor, not the blanket. If you've got the blanket supporting your entire spine, just find a comfortable shape with the arms. And then your legs, again, there are always multiple options. So if your low back feels just fine and you feel good straightening the legs, you can straighten your legs. If it doesn't feel comfortable, or if you're feeling any sort of pull, pinching, tension on your low back, then bend your knees and just let your feet rest onto the mat. So give it a few moments and don't be afraid to be a little bit particular, a little bit fidgety, wiggly in the beginning here, because I want you to get situated into a comfortable shape, whatever that means for your body. Take a little bit of time to get there. I want this to be a posture that is enjoyable, something that does feel just relaxing and good on your body. Settle in and just give yourself some space. So some space to breathe, some space to just relax and be in your own body. So not necessarily a time to be overthinking things, not a time to be, running through thoughts in the brain. Instead, let this be your time to just really attune to your body this afternoon. So take it all in. Notice how each and every part feels, all the little details that the body's giving you. The big ones we tend to notice, but sometimes we kind of gloss over some of the other stuff. So not just noticing maybe any areas that feel uncomfortable this afternoon, but also noticing the areas that feel good, that feel strong, that feel open. Just scan through and observe. As you continue to let that awareness wash over the body and settle in, also just give yourself the space here to let that breath slow down. With every breath you take, feeling the body become just a little bit more relaxed. Try to feel some softening, some slack happening around the jaw. Nice evenness to the breath, so the breath rhythmic. Any thoughts, cares, worries, concerns that may have followed you into this space become a little bit less important. And you take a little bit of time here for gratitude. So finding some gratitude towards yourself for taking this time in the middle of your day to come in, to slow down, and to really connect inward. And with this bit of self-gratitude, also giving yourself the full permission to really tailor your practice this afternoon towards you. Make it very much all about what feels best in your own body. Some days that means a little bit more physicality. Some days that means a little bit less. So whatever today is looking like, just really make this practice supportive to you, supportive to your body. And take just a few more big breaths here, just in quiet. Allow yourself to stay settled and just really tap into your breath and your body. Take another big breath in here, the biggest inhale you can take. Really try to stretch out your rib cage at the top. If you're okay holding the breath, pause just a moment at the top and let every bit of that breath go. Another just nice big clearing breath. Take the biggest, slowest, deepest inhale you can possibly take. Pause to hold. And a big full exhale. And continuing to just breathe in a way that's comfortable to you. We're all going to meet with our knees bent and feet on the mat. So if you do have your legs straight, you're going to start to bend your knees, bring your feet to the floor, and just pause here. Give it a breath or two. Just notice how that seemingly simple adjustment of the body might have a pretty big impact on what you're feeling, especially around the low back. Let's take another big breath in. And we're going to be rolling over to the left side. So as you exhale, you can curl your left arm underneath the head and just gently come down off of that blanket. So again, depending on how you had the blanket positioned, you may need to do things a little bit differently, but you're going to end up here in a fetal position on your left side. So fetal position, you want to have your knees pretty bent. You want to have your head supported, always making sure that we're not putting additional strain on the neck here. And we spent the last several rounds of breath really targeting in to the front of the chest here. So you've been feeling that opening, that expansion through the front of the chest. As we lay here now, start to feel a little bit more space through the back body. So when you inhale, really try to feel the upper back, the back of the rib cage in general, expand outward. And as you exhale, you just feel that soft little drop of everything hugging back in towards the midline. Let's give it another 2 to 3 big breaths here. So just get yourself comfortable. Again, make sure that head is supported. We're going to stay here on the left side for a little bit while here still, but go ahead and take that right leg, so your top leg, and just lift it towards the ceiling. So you're going to take your right foot up towards the ceiling and start to move your ankle. So point and flex and roll and just get some movement into that ankle joint. And once you've tapped into the ankle a little bit, you can move further down the leg, or further up the leg, depending on how you look at it. Starting to move into the knee joint, starting to move into the hip joint. So bend and straighten the knees, circle the hip, just take some movement through that leg as a whole here. It is many different ways of possibly moving these joints in as you can. And then eventually you're just going to kick that right foot again straight up towards the sky. Use that right hand to hold the leg. Now, it doesn't matter if you hold the leg, the ankle, the foot, the toe, but just something to help anchor. So whatever's a comfortable reach for you without putting any excess strain. We want this to be a gentle stretch, nothing that is forced in any way. Your knee can be fairly straight, but by no means are we trying to completely straighten the leg. And give it just a couple more breaths here. So you can add just a tiny bit of a pull with that right hand, but again, the intention is to keep it pretty gentle. Take another big breath in. We're going to let go of that right leg as you exhale, bend that right knee. And as if you're coming into dancer's pose, take your top hand, hold the top of that right foot now so that your knee stays about hip height. So if your knee lifts a lot higher than your hip, you can always let go of the foot and just simply curl it in rather than hold it. And if you want just a little bit more, you can start to actually kick your foot into your hand, start to puff your chest out just a little bit, adding a little additional stretch in around the rib cage and the shoulder. So just a couple more big breaths. Just get a little bit of space here through that right leg. Take another big breath in. And as you exhale, you're going to let go, just stack your knees so your knees are stacked over onto the side here. And then reach for that blanket. We're going to be rolling into a twist here. So you want to clear that blanket out from behind you. You're going to keep your knees as they are, and then just start to lay as if you're coming onto your back. So you're going to bring the arms out to a T, ground that right shoulder on the floor. So you're ending up in a twist here, a spinal twist with your knees dropped over to the left. Now, if this is a little bit too intense, if you're having a hard time dropping your right shoulder, you can use that folded blanket. You can tuck it underneath your bottom leg and or in between your knees. So we do want to try to get that right shoulder grounded. And then once you're there, as long as you have a healthy neck, you can take a little bit of movement, slowly shake the head no a few times and just get a little movement here in and around the neck. I'm going to be working a good deal with the spine and with the hips this afternoon. So a couple of big breaths in this twist here to help release. Take another big breath in. And you're going to firm the belly. So as you exhale, engage the core and then bring those knees back into center. So bring the knees in towards your chest here. Give yourself just a little squeeze, a little rock, a little sway from side to side. Let's take another big breath in. And then as you exhale, twist the opposite way. So your knees are going to drop over to the right side of your mat this time. And once again, just expand outward with the arms. Reach those arms out to T, root that left shoulder on the ground. So you're twisting the opposite way now. Then again, you can take a little bit of movement around the neck, around the head. You can always prop if you like, taking that blanket under or between your knees. A lot of times when we twist like this, the breath becomes just a little bit faded. So see if you can maintain just a strong breath here, nice and steady. Give it just a couple more deep breaths. Take your time, breathing fully, breathing deeply. Let's take one more big breath in. And as you exhale, we're going to roll all the way to the right side. So just swing that left arm across. Now take your right arm, tuck it underneath your head. So you're in a fetal position now on the opposite side, fetal position on that right side. Your knees are pretty bent. That's going to help keep you stable so we're not rocking too much. And then that top leg, now your left leg, lift it towards the ceiling. Start with the ankle. So give some rolls of your ankle, point, flex, move the ankle joint. Let that movement grow as you start to move into the knee joint, as you start to move into the hip joint. So just kind of testing the waters and noticing how this leg feels compared to the other, how the body responds to this movement in general. Let's give it another big breath. And then eventually left foot straight to sky. Now your left hand can come as an anchor. Again, not important where, but you can hold back of the leg, reach up towards the ankle, the foot, the toe, whatever is accessible. Just finding a comfortable amount of stretch here through that left leg. Head always remaining supported here. So rather than letting the head just flop down, we support it with that bottom arm. Couple deep breaths. Let's take one more big breath in. And then as you exhale, let go, we'll rebend the knee, stack your knees just briefly. And then again, as if you're coming into dancer's pose, bend that left knee deeply. Left hand can hold the top of the left foot. Try to keep your left knee no higher than your hip. And then for a little bit more, kick your foot into your hand, a little puff of the chest and breathe. Try to keep the breath just as deep, as full, as steady as you can. Take just a couple more big breaths. Good, one more big breath in. Then we'll gently let go of the foot as you exhale, stack the knees, and then take that left hand back to the floor. You're gonna start to just ease your body up and away from the mat as you come onto the hands and the knees. So no race, no rush. It is a slow flow. Bring yourself onto all fours, and as you do, just give it a few breaths. Start to move spine here really in any which way. So some barrel rolls, some cat-cows. Eventually from here, we're going to be making our way into downward dog, but just give it a few breaths to move first. And I think one of the beautiful things of yoga, there's so many things you can do, right? You can get the basic template of being on the hands and the knees, and then from there you can just modify. You can move at your own pace. You can move as many different body parts, as many different ways as you can, and just really be in your body. And just take your time whenever you're ready to come to dog. You're just going to tuck the toes and lift the hips, but you can feel in your own body if you'd like a little extra time on the hands and the knees, or a little extra time in your down dog this afternoon. So there's no rush. But whenever you do come into dog, you want to maintain just that good solid spreading of your fingers here. Make sure that we're really rooting down to keep some of the weight out of the wrists, your knees soft, your feet at least hips width distance apart. Down dog, a great place to work into the back of the legs a little bit. You can bend the knees a little bit really push that tailbone high to stretch out the spine, the low back. Let's take another big breath. And then try to push down evenly into both of your hands. So really spread your fingers, soften your elbows a little bit. Almost feel as if you're trying to slide your hands forward a touch. And then left leg, we're going to inhale towards the ceiling, come right into a scorpion dog. So you're going to bend that left knee, stack the hip. So your left knee points to the sky, your hips are stacked, but your shoulders face the back wall. Let's take another big breath in. And as you exhale, come forward, knee to nose. So left knee comes in towards your nose. We're going to circle the hip a few times here. So as you inhale, open that knee out to the side, come back to that scorpion dog. As you exhale again, knee to nose, rocking forward to plank. Inhale, circle the knee open, back to your scorpion dog. One more round as you exhale forward, knee to nose. Inhale, circle open as you lift the hips, scorpion dog. And this time, lizard lunge as you exhale. You're going to bring the left foot forward, step it out wide. So you want that left foot a little wider than your left pinky finger. And then just for a moment, scoot that right toe way back. Sink low into the legs, get into that right hip flexor, right psoas. Take another breath in. And then release that back knee. As you exhale, right knee to the floor. Take a little bit of movement into the hip socket here. Now your left foot, you might start to turn the toes out a little bit. It's common for a lot of hip structures to feel better if you turn the toes out a bit, as long as your knee, your toes point the same way. You can also start to roll into the knife edge of the foot to get a little bit more depth in there. Take another deep breath. And then from here, we're just going to stay in our lunge, drop your hips nice and low, make sure your back toes are untucked, and then adding a twist, walk your right hand a bit wider. Start to drop that right hip down. Inhale, left hand to sky. Again, here, you might want to turn those left toes out even more. There's sort of a lazy old lizard stretch here. Reach that left hand high, let your right hip drop down. Take another big breath in. And then exhale, lower your left hand. Walk both hands in so that they're under your shoulders. We're going to tuck the back toes and inhale ever so silently back into plank. Left foot comes back next to your right. Now you can be on your knees, on your toes, whatever works. Soften your elbows. Take another big breath in here in our plank. We're going to lower to the belly. So as you exhale, knees up or down, bend the elbows straight down or straight back and come down nice and slow. Untucking the toes at the very bottom here. Reach those legs way back behind you. Try to hug the elbows in a little cobra as you inhale, tiny lift to the chest without really using the hands. And exhale, keep all that length in the spine, lower back down. Inhale, rise again, lifting up. And exhale, lower. We're going to inhale up to hold this time, lifting up. keeping your gaze a little more downward than forward. Maybe consider hovering the hands, really hugging those elbows tightly towards your rib cage. Take another deep breath in. And then exhale, release, chin, nose back to mat. Just pause here to take a big breath in, start to engage your core, brace your abdominal muscles a bit. And then back to child's pose as you exhale, root down into your hands. Send your hips way back. Take a few breaths here coming off the hands. You can also lift your hands off the floor and give a few rolls of your wrists here. So we'll take just a few breaths in child's, really try to push those hips back, get nice and long here around that low back. Take another big breath. And then as you next inhale, back to all fours, lifting up again. We're going to tuck the toes and exhale back, downward facing dog. Give it just a breath or two to reset your dog. Give a little pedal, wag the tail. And the next time you inhale, right leg high, this time scorpion dog. You're going to bend the knees, stack the hip, aim your chest to the back wall. Take another deep breath in. And exhale, forward knee to nose, rock into your plank. Inhale, circle open, lift right back up. And exhale, forward again, plank shape, right knee to nose. Inhale, circle open, stack the hip. And final round, exhale, forward, knee to nose. Inhale, circle it open. And this time stepping all the way as you exhale into lizard, right foot forward, nice and wide, wider than your hand. Scoot that left foot way back to see for a moment how much you can sink the hips without dropping the knee. Another big breath in. And then exhale, gently lower, left knee onto the mat. Now is your chance to explore a little bit. You can turn the toes out, you can roll to the edge of the foot, just circle, get some movement into your hips. Let's take another deep breath. And then from here, sink the hips nice and low, walk your left hand out a bit. Make sure back toes are untucked as you inhale to twist. That left hip drops, that right hand reaches. So you're turning your chest towards the knee that's bent, dipping that back hip towards the mat. Take another deep breath in. And then lower that hand as you exhale. You're going to take your hands once again underneath your shoulders. And inhale, just lift that back knee up. Stepping forward this time as you exhale. So both feet right up to the top of your mat. Make sure they're hips width distance apart. A little wider if you want more stability, but give a good soft bend to the knees, let your head drop. Take a few deep breaths here in your forward fold. Now you can add any little movement you like, whether it's a little elbow grab, a little sway, shake nod of the head. Try to loosen everything up. Give it another big breath. And then spread your toes nice and wide. I want you to feel like you can actually feel a good grounding of your feet to the mat. Toes spread, arches lifted. We'll inhale, halfway lift, rise up. Exhale, fold back in. And then inhale, stand tall. Push the feet down, sweep long through the arms. Take your biggest reach. Exhale, hands to heart. Pause just a moment, unlock the knees, try to let go of any stiffness you might be feeling. Instead, just engage the core, shrug those shoulders back, try to feel strong in your body. But at the same time, if you can't take a really deep breath, let something go. Next breath in, arms above the head. And exhale, bow down, hinge from the hips, try to let your head be nice and heavy. Knees as bent as you need. That next inhale will rise halfway, find a long spine. Exhale, deeper fold. Inhale, now stand tall, push your feet firmly into the mat, reach your hands tall above the head. And exhale, hands to heart. Inhale again, rise up. And exhale, dive it forward. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, deeper fold. Inhale, stand tall, root down, reach long through the arms, big stretch. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale again, rise up. And exhale, dive down. Inhale, halfway, beautiful breath this afternoon. Hands down on exhale, step to plank. Feet are gonna come back We're going to stay here in plank for an inhale. You can drop the knees at any time if you like. And chaturanga, as you exhale, bend the elbows straight back. Try to let them hug to your ribs. Shoulders never lower than elbows as you inhale, up dog or cobra. Squeeze the belly and exhale, downward facing dog. Once those hips are high, give it about 3 big breaths in your dog. Any little wiggle, pedal, shake, whatever you need. Use your down dogs as just a place to reset. Take another breath in, a little bend to the knees. You're going to gaze to your hands. And then step, walk, or float the feet forward as you exhale, move to the top of your mat. We'll inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, deeper fold. Inhale, rise, root down and reach all the way up, big long stretch. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, bow down again. Inhale here, halfway. And now right leg steps back on exhale, long step to your lunge, lower that knee on the mat and take a breath in, sweep the hands overhead. Exhale, frame your foot, hands are going to plant to the mat. Tuck those back toes and inhale, lightly stepping back into plank. Elbows soft, core strong. Exhale, elbows bend. Again, find your chaturanga, lowering just halfway. Inhale, chest lifts. And exhale, push back to dog. Inhale, your left leg high, big kick. Exhale, step that left foot forward. Keep the back knee lifted this time. You're going to sink the hips and inhale, just a little lift to the chest. Big step forward on exhale, feet parallel, top of your mat. We'll inhale halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, now stand tall, root down, stretch long through the arms. And exhale, hands to heart. Let's take one more round, breath in. Exhale, dive forward. Inhale, halfway. And now left leg back on exhale, step long. Knee onto the mat. Sink the hips and inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, flatten your palms to the mat. Spread the fingers wide. And take a big breath in silently, back to plank. Nice. Exhale, elbows bend. Inhale, lift the chest. And exhale, push back to dog. Inhale, your right heel high. Exhale, big step forward, stay low in the hips, but take a breath in and just lift the chest a touch. Good, big step forward on exhale, forward fold at the top of your mat. We'll inhale, lifting halfway. And then setting up for chairs, you exhale, bend the knees a lot. You can heel toe the feet closer together if you like. Take a big breath in, push weight into the heels, stretch those arms out and up. So you want to try, if you can, to keep your knees back behind your toes. Sink your hips way back again, as if you're going to sit into some sort of a chair. Just know that there's not one there, so stay up. Give it a couple of big breaths. Just start to feel that strength in the legs, so engaging through the legs, reaching through the arms, but at the same time, keeping a little softness to the shoulders. Take another big breath. And then on that next inhale, little lift. Without locking the knees, rise up. Back bend as you exhale, cactus the arms. Squeeze belly and inhale right back up. Hands to heart as you exhale. Just take a moment, close your eyes, reset, whatever you got to reset. Take a moment to make sure, again, toes are spread, body feels strong yet soft. And together we'll inhale, reach the arms out and up. Exhale, dive forward. Inhale now halfway. And now right leg back as you exhale for crescent lunge. This time we'll keep the knee lifted, a little bend to that back knee. And take a big breath in, reach the hands overhead. Pause here. We're going to be here for a few breaths. So you want to make sure your feet are hips width distance apart. If you feel a little bit unsteady, you can widen them a bit. I'm going to turn that AC on just a little bit more here. You guys look warm. Doesn't take long to get warm, does it? A couple sun salutations, we're all like, okay, let's take another big breath in. And hands straight forward as you exhale. Try to keep the shoulders shrugged back, keep the chest tall. Good bend to that back knee. You're going to locate your left hand and inhale, twist slowly enough to make sure you're turning the chest, but not the hips. So if your hips start to skew, if your left knee starts to do funky things, back out a little bit. Keep your legs just like they were. You guys look good. Nice tall chest. Right on the ball of that back foot. If you want to build a little more heat for that back leg, bend the back knee more. Take one more deep breath. And then unwind the arms on your inhale. Reach both hands up to the sky. Nice long reach. And pivot open on exhale, warrior two. Drop that back heel to the mat. So you've got a strong bend into that left knee. Your front heel intersects somewhere along that back arch and arms reach out nice and long. Give it a few big breaths. Try to give a little lift to the chest. So I want you to feel that strength and stability in your lower body. Your arms strong, but again, not stiff, right? We can take deep breaths. That next inhale, just the arms. Let's reach them overhead. And a humble warrior as you exhale, clasp behind your back. Give a good roll of the shoulders, big puff of the chest. Inhale, little tilt on exhale. Start to now release that upper body. So again, feel that foundation, your legs really active, really strong. Your upper body can just start to drop. If this is a little bit too much, you can always take your hands and just put your hands on your front leg. Give it another deep breath. And then undoing the hands, let's inhale, reach right up to a reverse triangle. So as you come up, your front knee is going to straighten, avoid locking the knee. And then keep that leg fairly straight as you exhale, arms back to T. Take that front hip. You're going to get just a little tuck to that front hip. Big breath in, left hand as far forward as you can reach. And big breath out, simply tick-tock the hands. Right hand to the ceiling, left hand light. Not a whole lot of weight in it. Try to feel like both of your side bodies are really lengthened here. Take one more full breath. And then inhale, bend that front knee, reverse warrior this time. We're going to sweep that left arm all the way up and back, really open the left side and cartwheel your hands down on exhale, lifting your back heel off the floor. Find a half split by inhaling that back knee down, walking your hands and your hips back, letting the left toes begin to curl in. You want to keep your chest fairly tall, fairly open here. And breathe. So a nice deep hinge from the hips. Take one more big breath. And then inhale, rebend the knees, drop into the legs. Let's sweep those hands overhead. And exhale, optional vinyasa. So we're all going to meet back in downward dog. You can bring your hands down, step to plank. You can flow through that up to down dog. You can push back straight to down dog. You can also lower down into child's pose at any point. So transition in a way that works for your body. It aligns with what your body needs this afternoon. Usually more of a decision we want to make by feeling what's going on with our body than letting our brain tell us what to do. Take another big breath. And all meeting back in dog. We'll inhale that right leg high this time. Kick it up. And right foot forward as you exhale, crescent lunge. Hips width distance apart between the feet. Lift that set of arms up off the floor. Good bend into that back knee. You want to always feel like your pelvis is pretty level, pretty square, pointing towards the front of the room. And if you are the overzealous type and you're reaching, soften a little bit. Just relax neck, shoulders. I always tell when you're stiff. I washed windows in my house this weekend. I did this for a long time. And now I notice how terrible this feels because my neck hurts. Just be mindful, be conscious. Take another big breath in. And hands straight forward as you exhale. Stay pretty low on the legs. Identify the right hand. And inhale, right hand up, reaches back, chest turns, hips and legs do not move unless they wobble, which they will. Try to keep them in the same basic shape. And again, breathe. What do we do a lot of times when the practice gets hard? We stop breathing. So we're balancing, we're doing all kinds of stuff right here. Just try to allow the breath to still move. Let's take one more big breath. Inhale our way back to center, hands overhead, and then pivot down as you exhale right to that warrior two. Shimmy the shoulders down a little bit. Again, anytime you feel stiffer on the shoulders, Typically bending the elbows is going to give you some bit of relief. So find a strong posture, but one that still allows you to feel good in your body, feel strong in your breath. That next inhale, just the arms. We're going to stretch them overhead and clasp behind your back as you exhale. Give a big roll of the shoulders, big breath in, lift and puff. Little tilt on exhale, roll in. You can let your head drop if that feels okay. Alternatively, you can always put your hands on your front leg. Give it just a few more big breaths. And then undoing the hands, we'll inhale, reverse triangle. So that front knee without locking is going to straighten on your way up. Arms level out on exhale, hands to T. Keep that front knee soft, but really start to tuck the front hip and take your biggest breath in. Right hand draws forward. Exhale, right hand down, left hand to sky. So find your triangle pose here. Side body's active and strong. Looking good. Give it a couple more big breaths. Just take a moment. If your balance allows, maybe close the eyes and just really observe what's going on. Take another breath in. And one more breath out here. Going to come back to reverse warrior. So inhale by bending the front knee, swooping that right arm all the way up and back. And then exhale, cartwheel down. Hands to mat. You're going to lift your back heel, drop your back knee, and inhale, walk it all back. So get however straight is comfortable into the right leg, keeping that word comfortable in mind. I want you to feel the stretch, but not overdo it. Give it a few big breaths with a fairly tall chest. Let's take one more big breath. And then inhale, rebend the knee, drop low again. Reach the hands overhead. And this time a forward fold. So as you exhale, simply drop your hands, take your left foot up, left foot parallel to right. Widen your toes nice and wide and inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come to standing, root down, reach those hands above the head. And then back to chair pose as you exhale, bend the knees, sink those hips way back. Try to spread your toes nice and wide. Soften your shoulders. Take another breath in. And just the hands as you exhale, hands to heart. Start to shift a little more weight into your left foot. See if you can either lighten your right foot or pick it up off the floor. Still in chair pose on the left leg. Feel a little bit of heat. Take one more breath. And then Ekapada as you inhale, nice and slow. Very good. Hands can come overhead. We're going to twist to the right as you exhale. So left hand comes across to your knee, right hand reaches back. You can always put your big toe on the floor if you need. Remember that looking around at other people's poses will probably make you fall. So just try to keep your gaze nice and steady. Only thing that matters is how your pose feels. Take one more breath. And if you can, keep the leg lifted. We'll inhale, unwind, reach your hands back to sky. We're going to counter twist in our lunge here. So as you exhale, step that right leg way back, land your right hand, sweep your left hand up towards the ceiling. So you're turning your chest again towards your bent knee, just the other bent knee this time. Sit long through those left fingertips, take another breath in. And then exhale, lower that left hand down onto the mat. We're going to take our hands, walk them just a little bit forward here. And as if you're coming into warrior through prep, we're going to move into half moon. So that left hand is going to come down underneath your left shoulder, right hand to the sky, right foot to the back wall. So your hips, your chest are now turning to the side. We're moving into half moon. So lift your right hand up to the ceiling. This is a great place for props. So if you took the work to grab a block, great time to use it here. Take another big breath in. And as you exhale, start to bend that standing leg, lower your right foot down. Your feet are zither in warrior two, excuse me. And then inhale, reverse warrior, come up, reach that left arm long. Exhale, extended side angle. We're going to pause here for a couple breaths. So very light into your left hand, a really long reach here through the right. Just take a moment to breathe. And then that next inhale back to your reverse triangle. Should feel pretty good to straighten that left leg right about now. Exhale, arms out to T. Now you're going to turn your left toes in. So you're a little bit pigeon-toed. Your heels are just a little bit wider than your toes, but your feet are pretty well parallel. Take a big breath in. Once again, we'll clasp behind the back, lift and puff the chest, and then soften your knees, excuse me, and exhale, bow forward. If this is a little bit too intense, you can take your hands down at any point onto the floor. All right, okay. Let's take one more inhale. And then exhale, release your hands down. And just take a few more breaths here. Now you can just hold in a forward fold. You can start to move a little bit from side to side, whatever appeals. If the breath has gotten it all short or choppy, you got space here to start to lengthen it out again. And then inhale, rise up to your fingertips. Let's find a long spine. You're going to start to bend that left knee and exhale, walk it back. Pivot yourself back to the top of your mat. And then for chair pose, just step that right foot up, bend the knees, sink the hips back, and inhale, reach the arms out. Pause, give it another big breath. We'll take one more inhale here. And then just get the hands out of the way. Exhale, hands to heart. See if you can lighten or lift your left foot this time. Feel that right leg. Lots of strength happening there. Strongness is a great word. Take an inhale, lift up, Ekapada, rise. Take your time. Once you feel fairly steady, you're going to turn to your left so that right hand can come across, that left hand can reach back. You can always keep your left toe down. Keep your drishti nice and centered. That does typically help. Take another breath. We're going to inhale, wind ourselves back through center, hands back to the sky, and then just step it way back on your exhale, coming into that revolved lunge. So left hand down, right hand high. That left leg is back. We're nice and long. We'll get there. So you guys are always a step ahead of me. You know it's coming better than I do. Take another big breath in. And then exhale, bring your hands down. We're going to walk our hands forward a bit and just briefly launch that left foot up as if you're coming into warrior three prep, but then moving to half moon right, ground your right hand. Start to stack your hip, your left heel pushing to the back wall, eventually maybe even your left hand up to the sky. That lifted leg really active. Take one more breath in. And start to bend the standing leg as you exhale, lightly land your left foot. Big bend to that right knee. We're going to inhale, reverse warrior, reach it up and back. Exhale, extended side angle, keeping the legs as they are, but lowering that right hand lightly and stretching long through the left. One more deep breath. Inhale, reverse triangle, this time straighten the front knee. Reach that right arm up and back, and then exhale again. Pigeon toe your feet, reach your arms long. Try to bring the feet more or less parallel with the edges of your mat. Big breath in, and just bow down as you exhale. Yogi's choice this time. Just take anything that feels good. Again, if it's a little side to side movement, maybe forward to back, maybe you just hinge and hang and breathe. Take about 3 to 4 more big breaths. And then that next inhale, rise halfway. Push down into your fingertips, lift the head. more or less in line with the heart, and then exhale, bend your right knee, pivot back. Turn to face the top of your mat. We'll meet in dog if you would like a vinyasa to get there. I'm not taking it away from you. You can take it. You can also just push your way back to dog. Give it just a big centering breath once you're back in dog. And from here, we're going to inhale that left leg high. Kick your left foot to the sky and move into a half pigeon. So as you exhale, we have landed, and bring that left knee forward. Make sure that it's out a little wider than your left wrist. You always want it wider than your hip. So we're not just squishing the knee, we're actually externally rotating and opening that hip. Top of your back foot flat. You want to try to make sure we don't stretch back so far that we turn the hips. Everything is square and level. If you find yourself rolling to the left, put your blanket under your hip. Now you can stay. You can start to lower down. If there's anything you can do to support your head, that is going to be something good for your neck. So you can use a block, you can use your fists. And once you're here, if what you're feeling is primarily in your knee, or if there's, any little warning bell going off in your body about your knee, you're going to come onto your back instead and just cross that left ankle onto the right thigh and take a figure 4 instead. So you've got choices. Again, choices to be made more with your body than with your brain. For whatever reason, the brain likes to typically push us more than we sometimes need. So just find what works, close your eyes. And now that we've been here for a few breaths, just see if there's something you can soften. Are you clenching your fists into little balls? Are you squeezing, your jaw tightly together, your teeth tightly together? There's something that you can soften. Maybe it's just a matter of the biggest centering breath you can take and letting that deep, long exhale help you settle and soften just a touch. Let's take one more breath. And on your next inhale, lift your head, root your hands, slowly begin to rise. Just pause to exhale, letting those hips stay nice and low. And then back to that scorpion dog as you inhale, lift your back knee, stack your hips so you open the front of that left hip. Option is there to flip your dog if you like. If you are a flipper, you may flip over and take that left foot back to the mat behind you, reach that left hand forward. You can also stay here. Take another breath in. Now, if you have flipped, really use your core to come back. Exhale, we'll all meet in downward facing dog. Give it a good pedal. If you're the vinyasa type, this will really pretty much be your last opportunity. So take one here if you want it. That next inhale, right heel high, this time big kick. Find that same half pigeon on exhale, land the knee a little wider than your wrist. Come down, making sure that your pelvis stays level and square. You can always tuck the back hip, something underneath it if you're dropping down. It might be different on this side. You can stay up higher, you can come down lower. Reminder that supporting your head is always a positive. It might be that this side you come down onto your back and take that figure 4 instead, just to avoid any pressure on the knee. So find your variation here. Make it feel good for you. About 2 more big breaths. And super slow on your next inhale, start to lift the head, root the hands. Again, just pause at the top to exhale. Try to let those hips melt a touch. And all the way up as you inhale, right into that scorpion with your right knee pointing towards the ceiling, and or you can flip your dog on this side if you prefer. And one more big breath in. And again, flippers, use your core. Exhale, we'll all lower both feet to the mat. Give a last just big pedal of your feet here. Really lift and lower your heels. Get the back of the knees, the back of the calves released. Take another breath in. And just a brief child's pose as you exhale. Let's stretch that low back out. Drop your forehead down to hands or floor. Tuck your hips way back to your heels. Take one more of your biggest breaths. And on your next inhale, slowly lift back to all fours. We're going to be coming down onto our backs. So if you know there's any prop you're going to want for your Shavasana, just make sure you can reach it. No one wants to get really comfy and realize their blanket's way on the other side of their mat if they want it. Come down. And just start with the knees in towards the chest. You can give yourself just a little rock and sway and squeeze. And then eventually take both of your feet up towards the ceiling and just use your hands to support the legs. You don't have to pull a whole lot. Just kind of anchor the legs in place, your knees soft. So let your feet float here for a few breaths. Give it about another 5-ish big breaths here. Again, just long through the back of the legs, but not forced. Take one more big breath in. Exhale, just release. Bring your knees in towards your heart. Give yourself a big squeeze, nice and tight, big breath in. And exhale, forehead to knees. Curl it up, squeeze tight. One more big inhale. Lower gently as you exhale, head and feet to floor. Arms wide, give a last just rock and windshield wiper of your knees here from side to side. It's nice and slow. Let the weight rock across the sacrum. You can start to move the head opposite way here. So as your knees fall one way, look the other way. And check in with your body. If there's anything at all that you'd like before we find our Shavasana here, if there's a final pose you're craving, if you just want to take a moment to stretch things out, a last little shake out, maybe setting up some props for your Shavasana. We're going to start over the course of the next few breaths to get just comfy in our Shavasana. That folded blanket can be nice to tuck back behind the thighs, the knees, just to give a little support. If you need a little extra grounding today, you can also take and set that folded blanket across your pelvis. But as you start to come into Shavasana, just get comfortable. There's no right or wrong. I want you to find the shape that is the most comfortable to your body this afternoon, whatever that is. Take up just as much space as you need. One big thing is to make sure that you do give a little tuck of your shoulders. You always want to make sure that you can feel pretty effortless in this pose. So your breath has a really clear path. You're not having to work too hard at it. And together, big breath in. Biggest inhale you can possibly take. Pause just a moment, hold the breath. Big exhale. Release every single breath. And as you do, truly give yourself that complete space to let go here. You're no longer trying to control your breath, your mind, your body. Instead, you're just allowing yourself to drop in, completely let go. Start to notice, start to deepen your breath once again. Take a moment comfortably settled. Observe your breath, observe your body. As your breath deepens, little movements, just begin gently with the fingers and the toes. A little roll of your wrists and of your ankles, slowly shake the head no. Inhale your way into a full body reach. Stretch the whole body long. As you exhale, knees bend. Hug your knees to your heart, squeeze tight. Take a big breath in. And as you exhale, roll over to whichever side you're most comfortable on and just pause there to take a big breath. Eventually, rooting down into your top hand, start to feel your way up and come into a tall seat. Sitting nice and tall as you root down through the sit bones. Lift up through the crown of the head and lightly draw hands into your heart space. I'm going to close this afternoon with a final shared breath as you next inhale, circle the arms. Take a long reach here, big stretch. Palms connect overhead. Exhale, hands to heart. Thank you all so much for being present here this afternoon to share your breath, your energy, your practice. Have a wonderful day. Namaste. Thank you all so much. Have a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Thank you. Thank you to the online folks as well. Have a good day.
Thank you, Nicole. That was great.
You're welcome. Thank